Welcome to the Pineapple Perspective. I'm your host, Troy Hooper. These are always sponsored by Pepper Lunch Restaurants, pepperlunchrestaurants.com. And if you're a multi unit franchise operator and looking to diversify your franchise brand portfolio, we'd love to invite you to check out the franchise page on pepperlunchrestaurants.com. If you're not into Japanese food, I've got another brand that might be franchising we're going to talk to today. I'm excited to talk to a longtime operator and brand founder and now brand scaler, Mijo Alanis. Welcome to the Pineapple Perspective. How are you?
Good, good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, glad to have you. Looking forward to the conversation, getting to know you, and having the audience learn from your journey and your process. But before we get into who you are, where you come from, and what you do today, we ask every guest the same first question: what does hospitality mean to you?
I've been in the I'm 57. So I've been in the restaurant business for 42 years. That has changed over the years for me. What I thought, what I did by accident, and what we do on purpose. But I truly believe that what hospitality is how you make people feel, how you make them feel when they think of your brand, when they interact with your brand, when they walk through the doors, when they meet your employees, when they meet the franchisees, when they open the package, and when they taste it. That's my perspective on hospitality.
So it sounded like it's evolved over the years. What did you grow up thinking about hospitality? What have you how has that changed over time? What did you think you used to think it was if it's now
It
that?
was always just taking care of the guests, anticipating their needs. I did every position in the restaurant. When I became a server and a bartender, that happened after I was actually in the kitchen and dish room and prepping. But I would always anticipate, some of the other servers and bartenders would complain that that person didn't tip enough, or, and I always thought like, well, maybe we didn't do everything we possibly could do. So as that started happening in my life, I anticipate their needs. I learned to talk to them a little bit, find out a little bit more about them, recognize them the next time they come in, know if they have kids, know where they work, introduce them to other people in the restaurant that had similarities to them, creating a family culture, having genuine conversations with them where I truly cared about and they did. I truly did. I can tell you in my career, I've probably have more pictures with other people's families during the holidays than I did with my own. I would touch every table, I would touch every customer, I would do something for the kids. It was just that's to me, that's what being a restaurateur was, and that's what it meant. Just making them feel happy, which is, you know, kind of what my hat's all about is feel beyond good, and it goes more than just the food.
Yeah. That's beautiful. I love that. Something that his time gives us perspective on, right? But I think you had some of those elements early on. If that's you could tell how you were viewing the customer experience over even your colleagues right there at the bar or the restaurant. I think it's an important mindset for young entrepreneurs, young people in this industry coming up as executives or leaders or want to be owners of a brand. Tell us a little bit. That was a great segue because you started telling us a little bit about your history. You started as a dishwasher at 15. You're managing a restaurant at 18. You've done every job in the business. Give us the bio on your life in the restaurant business. Tell us how you got here and where you came from.
It started out I wanted a car. I needed a car, my parents weren't gonna pay for it, and they found one for I found one, it was for $400, and I started knocking on doors, and a restaurant, hired me as a dishwasher. I think it was $2.85 an hour I was making. I remember working, and I'd have to work on Fridays and Saturday nights. I think I was a freshman in high school, sophomore in high school, my parents would have to drop me off there, and I remember coming home at the end of the night, my fingers were all pruned up, my feet were wet. I had that smell, that dish room smell, which I can smell a mile away now.
Yeah.
And I would look out over the dish room dish pit, and there would be a guy over there prepping, and he looked like he had an easy job. So I'd go over to him and I'd ask him, I'm like, "Hey man, how'd you get this job?" And he'd say, "You just work your way up." I said, "Hey, you mind teaching me?" So I'd go learn from him on when I wasn't working, and eventually, I got the call because I knew what to do. And then my hands smelled like onions because I was making onion rings. And then I noticed the guys in the kitchen, they seem to control the whole thing. So I'd go and I went and I talked to the lead cook there, and I asked him, I said, "Hey, can you teach me?" And by the time I was like 17, I was cooking breakfast on Saturdays and Sundays, and I was closing on Friday nights. But then at the end of the shift, I'd go in there and I'd watch the servers count all the money. They're the ones making all the money. Got out of high school, and I remember my regional manager came in and told me, he says, "Hey, you're going to go to college. How much is it going to cost?" And they offered me a manager position. I quickly rose up. I became a general manager this time I was 18. I got to open a few restaurants. I won Restaurant of the Year when I was like 19 and decided to go back to college. I was going back to college. That's when I was bartending and serving. That's when I was making my money. And my wife walked into my restaurant 1 minute to close. Now, as a server, I don't know if you know about when somebody walks in 1 minute to close. I actually use this as a speech to my entire company. That first customer and that last customer, you never know what they mean. So treat them the
Yeah.
same. Anyway, she was the last customer, and she asked me what was going on, and little did I know that her father owned a restaurant, and she was going out to Arizona to go to Thunderbird Graduate School out there, and one thing led to another. We started seeing each other. Before you knew it, we're dating, and she finally graduated from or she got her master's degree, and to this day, I believe it was a conspiracy, but she couldn't find a job, and it was back in Michigan. I lived in Arizona at the time, and she said, "Please come back with me until I get some time underneath my belt, and I'll move back out to Arizona." I said, "All right." I said, "My whole family's out here." I said, "I don't." That was 31 years ago, by the way. She moved out. I said, "I'm not working for your dad, though." And it was I remember
Famous
he
last
has a
words.
bar. Yeah, he had a bar restaurant. It was a bar with really good food. He was in the kitchen every day. And he asked me to come work for him one day, and I said, "Johnny, man, I'm not married to your daughter. That's not something I want to do." And anyways, he talked me into it. I showed up. The first day was crazy. It was the first time I worked for a restaurant that did not have systems in place. It was a mom and pop restaurant. So they did everything by, his eyeballs were on it and my mother-in-law's eyeballs were on it, and they were fixing things on the fly, calling stuff into the kitchen, no portion control because he would decide how much went on every order. And afterwards, we went to dinner and I started telling him all the things that I noticed. And he says, "Why don't you come back tomorrow?" I'm like, "Nah, I don't want to." Well, he talked me into it, and that was the day that changed my life. That changed the rest of my life. He taught me what it was like to stick the key in the door in the morning and turn it at night. He taught
Yep.
me what insurance was, payroll tax, taught me how much carpet cost. My mother-in-law taught me the value of napkins, straws, and lemons, all the tiny little things, the guest checks. I learned a lot, and together we meshed. Going back to my days of when I was a dishwasher, I could always tell when somebody did or did not like a product because I saw it in the bus stop. Well, right around 2000, at the beginning of the 2000s, I started seeing people throwing away their hamburger buns and french fries. And I would ask the servers, let's say, "Hey, why are they throwing their hamburger buns and french fries?" Because back then we were trying to make the plate full. And they're like, "I don't know." And I'm like, "Well, let's go ask." So I went and asked, and I started getting this repeat answer. "I'm tired of feeling like crap after I ate." And so I started seeing salads being subbed for french fries or sliced tomatoes instead of hash browns, cottage cheese. And then we started hearing the low carb. We actually started making low carb dishes. And I remember that. So we still have a place in Arizona, and there was a mountain, Camelback Mountain, that we go climb. And when we were done, we'd go down to the bottom of the mountain, and there was a juice bar. We would have some juices and smoothies and eat healthy, so to speak. And when we left, I'm like, I feel better. And I started thinking about that because I remember what the customer was saying, thinking about. So I got home and I was driving home one day from work, and I'm like, there's no place to buy a banana. There's no place between here and home that I can find something. That's when it was born. My wife and I scraped up all of our money that we had, and we opened our first juice bar in 2005 in Birmingham, Michigan. And that first customer came in and ordered a smoothie for $4.25 and turned around and walked out. And I went, "Oh my goodness, what did we do?" Because in the restaurant industry, no one has one. They have one after another. They have an appetizer. They order dinner. I'm like, we're gonna have to do like 200 customers a day in order to like break even. Now, back then, you just did. I just did. And there was times it was just my wife and I. She's running the register and I'm in the back, and we had to because that's how we paid payroll. I mean, we still had other jobs and we would massage it to get it done. It was a hobby. It was a cool place that on my way to work, I had a place to get a smoothie. I can name it whatever I wanted. And it started, I would say I was about 3 years too early. In 2008, it really started kicking off. 2009, 2010, actually, when 2008 hit, I thought it was going to go down, but the economy didn't. Not in my area. They got extremely busy. Started getting people knocking on the door saying, "Hey, how do I buy one of these things?" I had no clue. Around 2015, I started looking into franchising, and a lot of stress going through me. Like I don't know how to grow this thing. And I went to my first NRA show, and I felt like I walked into a room with a bunch of like-minded people. Like, they were asking the same questions I was asking. They were talking about topics that I was thinking about, and I'm still doing that today. On November 8th, we'll be opening our 50th location, and I still feel like I'm still that dishwasher looking at that prep cook's job. I'm still that prep cook looking at the line cook's job. I was the single unit operator looking, how do I get multi-unit? How do I become multi-state? How do I become bigger? So 50 is a big milestone for us.
That's huge. That's a huge milestone for everybody. That's amazing. Congratulations. Where's number 50 gonna be? Where's that opening?
Atlanta, Georgia.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
So you have 50 stores, from Michigan to Atlanta. Where else do you cover?
Naples and Ohio.
Got it. Very cool. And, smoothie juice bar, it says eatery, so you have some proteins or savory food as well?
So the smoothie and juice was the initial. And again, not knowing what I don't know, winter in Michigan came out and sales dropped like 30%. And I'm like, oh my goodness, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? So it took a couple years, but then I'm like, I'm in the restaurant business. Let's create some food. So we started creating food, but I knew the food had to be a little different than any other place. So we do our best to have the cleanest possible food as possible. We make it in house, no preservatives. And then thinking about how do we scale this? So we've introduced some new types of technology, which took me a few years to understand. One of them is called HPP, which is high pressure processing, which allows the shelf life to be extended without the use of preservatives and still keeping it fresh.
That's awesome. So you've gone from one store in, the early 2000s to 50. How many corporate and how many are franchised today?
So we have 4 and 45. So
Wow,
45 are
fantastic.
franchised and 4 are corporate. So in 2014, when this whole franchise thing started happening, I got one guy to come in as a franchisee. I said, you're gonna be my guinea pig. And we opened 4 other corporate stores at that time. We built out a commissary. We did our SOPs. We did all of our training materials. We communicated, and I was constantly asking, "How's this? How do you feel?" Like it's all about how am I making you feel? Are we meeting your needs? Is this something you feel like you would invest money into? Is the profit margin? Is the training course? So we did a crash course for 2 years. We opened 4 restaurants corporately in 2 years, and I learned a lot during that time.
Yeah. So tell us, I don't get to talk to a lot of people who've gone through that brand founder become franchisor journey. It was a big part of my career in helping founders like yourself do that. So tell the audience a little bit about that journey and how you obviously learned a lot on the fly, so to speak, and in the kitchen getting while you're cooking the meal, so to speak. Yep.
So, that was I would have to say for me, it was one of the most stressful things that went through me. Every night I was like, do I grow without a franchise? Do I grow franchise? Like, where's the middle ground? How do I feel? Like I would go to sleep and I'd put this hat on and I'd say, okay, how's this? And then, you got the money thing and you got giving up control. And like I said, when I went to NRA, and listening to other franchisees, like-minded people that had to make these exact same decisions, the franchise thing became clearer and clearer and clearer. I really like the fact that I'm going to use this as an example right here.
Yeah.
On here are a bunch of apps, And each one of those apps is a business that someone created that put on here. So I kind of like say this is like a canvas. Beyond is like a canvas. We did all the hard work. Now the supply chain's there, the products there, it tastes good. We have the marketing down. We have the replication down to where I feel great when I think we have 3 people that have over 5 stores in the company, which means that, they're doing well, and that to me, that on my watch or on our watch, my team's watch, they were able to become successful.
How are you able to switch from the owner beyond owner, you the founder, right? Concept founder, concept owner, store operator, store owner who did everything from day one with his wife and figured all this out. How did you mind shift switch from that that owner control mindset to the franchisor service mindset? Because as a franchisor, you're really in the service business. You're servicing them. And obviously, you said you were very stressed about their success. That's a beautiful thing to say because you cared about their success. You wanted to make sure they had everything they needed. And you don't see that every day in the franchising business or the franchisor business or that mindset. But how did you switch to that thought process and start running that different
A
business?
lot of work on myself. That was a difficult switch. As a matter of fact, 2 years ago, a year, I actually put a CEO in place. And that CEO, the first thing she did was clear my schedule and talk about, you know,
40
like,
years and you're like, now
yeah,
what?
yeah, like the walls are gonna cave in, if Mijo's not here, what's gonna happen? Because I realized that when you realize of where you want to go and who you have to be in order to get there, I think of like athletes and the Super Bowl and rock stars. They want this certain level. I call it the what now syndrome. What happens once they achieve it?
Hmm.
Now what? So, and I think about like who do I need to be? And I realize that there's a visionary, there's a manager leader, there's an entrepreneur that I wore all those hats. And I'm good at the visionary piece because I see things way out. But when it came to manager leader, as I hired my friends and I hired, and I was, I can't even tell you how many good things that I'd done for all my employees. Not saying that I'll never regret doing any of that, but when you get to a certain level, you got to put the people in place. And I started noticing when I go to these QSRs, I'm like, where's the founder? Where's the person that started this? And, they've got a CEO, they have a CFO, which I was doing my own books and writing my own checks and waking up every morning and transferring money from left and right to cover the things. And I knew everything that was going on. And to give that to someone else, which by the way was a relief once I started seeing that, hey, I'm not the only one that can do this. Now we can focus on bigger and better things. I can go out and focus on the things that I do best. And I'm not saying that was easy because it wasn't, but it's having a lot of faith in your team. And I've got a few people. I think one of them, he's been with me almost 19 years. He's a part owner in one store and he's getting ready to be a part owner in another store. I've got the graphic design. I have executives. I got director of operations. They were all R&D department. So if you think about back when we had just one store, seeing how far we can go and where we're at today and, buying media spend, and we didn't have any of that. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah. It's you're getting in the big leagues now.
yeah.
So, Mijo, tell the audience we've kind of beaten around the bush. Let's get real direct about. Tell people what Beyond Juicery and Eatery is, because I have a follow up question about the future. So, get us caught up on who it's for, where it is, what is it, what's special about it, how do you stand out in this crowded space, and then I'm gonna have a follow up.
Hey, it's about feeling good about yourself after you make that choice. We have healthy options. We have indulgent options. I like to say it like when I was driving home that day and looking for a banana, I realized what my options were out there. And I know that when I picked those because I needed something quick, I wasn't happy with myself afterwards. Beyond was always that place that you can go to that's better for you. We have wheatgrass shot if you want it. We got organic juice if you want it. We have acai bowls. We have wraps made with homemade dressing. We have you can scale or you can add protein. I've always listened to what the customer is asking for. No carbs, so we lower the amount of carbs in there. Add protein, so we're adding. I want more fiber. How do we add more fiber? So and I think that over the course of my life in the restaurant industry, I've always listened and anticipated the guest needs. And they're the ones that are going to tell you. And if you're adjusting to it, I think and you're personal and you're genuine, they're going to come back. And at that point, it's no longer about price. It's not about price. It's about how you made them feel. It's that piece of hospitality that they don't know it, but you heard them.
Yeah, it's resonating. It's fitting. It feels right. Yeah. So, Mijo, where is Beyond Juicery going? You're at 50 stores. You're franchised. You're growing throughout the Midwest and Southeast. What's the big vision here?
So the exciting part about this is over the course of the last 2 years, since we brought on the CEO, was this vision is how do we start to scale? How do we get our marketing in place? How do we get our distribution into place? How do we get our cost in line? And all of those boxes are starting to be checked. Most of them are checked. When it comes to the franchise sales piece, I think we got 9 or 12. Got another one on Wednesday that are in the books, getting ready to either in some form of looking for real estate under construction. And I really enjoy talking with entrepreneurs. It's a whole different mindset when you come in and someone's talking about where I love asking where do they want to be. And that's the thing about Beyond. If you're tired of working for yourself, you want to work or you want to be part of something with a purpose, a plan, and a vision, and you want to be somewhere that's not here today, I think we're a perfect vehicle. I think, and we have testimonies behind us that it's happening daily, yearly. I've got one franchisee that he's already putting it in his kids, and the kids, they want to be in it. They're there every day. And matter of fact, when I was there, I don't know if he heard something that I said, but he's like, I know the first 100 customers that walk through the door. I know exactly what they eat. And by the way, they're the busiest store in the company. And those kind of things correlate when you take care of the guests, which by the way, that's the only way I knew of doing restaurants, just take care of the guests. Food's got to be good. Take care of the guests.
It's very simple. We overcomplicate it sometimes, I think. Yeah. Mijo, I really appreciate you sharing your story. I think it's very inspirational. I love meeting founders of brands with stories like yours. You started with, as a dishwasher, then you had this idea, you created a single store and worked it hard. You learned your lessons, and then you weren't afraid to replicate. You weren't afraid to take those risks. And I love the mindset of having this purpose-driven business. And I've been on your website and on your social media. It's not BS. It is obviously coming from the source, which you can feel that in the messaging, in the visuals, and how you put forth your brand. I think that stands out. And again, not a uncrowded field. There's a lot of folks in your space, and you've carved out a niche, and you're doing your thing, and it's resonating with your people. And I think that's what matters. Mijo, thanks for coming on the show today on the Pineapple Perspective, and we look forward to seeing you. I'll see you hopefully at a conference here in the near future, probably in Las Vegas next month. So,
all right.
Yeah, glad to have you. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to the Pineapple Perspective. If you loved today's episode, leave a review and a 5-star rating. I look forward to welcoming you back next time.